Dear students, people around us are engaged in different activities to earn livelihood. Some may be producing goods, okay, like farmers, industrialists, while others may be delivering services, like teachers also giving service, postman, okay. They are all doing economic activities, okay. These all the economic activities are classified into groups based on some important criteria. Okay, these groups are known as the sectors of the Indian economy. Okay, dear. Then let me start the discussion. On the basis of nature of activities, sectors are classified into primary, secondary, and tertiary. What is primary sector? The economic activities which are connected with the extraction and production of natural resources are called primary sector. For example, agriculture, fishing, mining, etc. falls under primary sector. Secondary sectors are convert the natural products into other forms through ways of manufacturing. Okay, it relates to industrial activity. Industries are secondary sectors. For example, by using sugar cane as a raw material, we make sugar. Okay. Tertiary sectors are mostly based on providing services to the society like transportation, banking, insurance, communication, storage, etc. Since these activities are generate services rather than goods, so it is also called as service sector. Okay. All these three sectors are dependent on each other. Let me see how. Let us take an example of cold drink. A cold drink contains water, sugar, and artificial flavor. Suppose if there is no sugarcane production, then procuring sugar will become difficult and costly for the cold drink manufacturer. Now to transport sugarcane to sugar mills and sugar to the cold drink plant needs the services of a transporter. A person or system of person is required to maintain and monitor all these movements of goods from farm to factory to shop in different locations. Okay, so that is where role of administrative staffs comes. Let us go back to the farmer. He also needs fertilizers and seeds which is processed in some factory and which will be delivered to his doorstep by some means of transportation. So, to top it all at every step of these activities, we require the proper monetary and banking system. Okay, then only we can get the final product, cold drinks. So, from the primary sector, okay, then it passed to tertiary sector, then secondary sector, then it will reach to the consumer till the end. All the three sectors are interdependent. So, in a nutshell, this describes how interrelated all sectors of an economy are. Okay, are you clear? Let us see the historical changes in sectors from initial stage. Okay, in the initial stages of the development, the primary sector was the most important sector of economic activity. You know why? Because methods of farming changed. Okay, and agriculture sector began to prosper. So it produced much more food than before, and many people could take up many other activities which led to the increase in number of activities. Okay, so This stage was most of the goods produced were natural products. Okay. Then we go to the second stage. Because of the technology, new methods of manufacturing were introduced. Factories came up and started expanding. So people began to work in factories in large numbers, and also people started using the factory goods because they were cheap. Okay, like this secondary sector gradually become the most important in total production and employment. Then this stage was shift to the tertiary sector. Okay, in the third stage, the service sector has become the most important in terms of total production. Most of the working people are also employed in the service sector. Got it? Like this, economic activities have been changed. Okay. Let's see, how do we count the various goods and services and know the total production in each sector? Okay. By the way of GDP, gross domestic product. What is gross domestic product? The value of final goods and services produced in each sector during a particular year provides the total production of the sector for that year. Okay. So, and the sum of the production in these three sectors gives the GDP, gross domestic product of a country. This GDP shows how big the economy of a country is. Got it? Sum of production in three sectors give GDP of the country. Okay. Then it is the value of all final goods and services produced within the country during a particular year. Okay. GDP shows how big the economy is. This GDP measurement is undertaken by the central government with the help of various government departments of Indian states and union territories. Let me compare of the three sectors according to their contribution in GDP. In the older times, primary sector was the largest contribution, followed by the tertiary sector, and the least was contributed by secondary sector. But now the situation reversed. Tertiary sector became the largest contributor. Secondary sector occupied second position and primary sector contributed the least. Okay, look at the bar diagram. It shows that tertiary sector become the largest contributor. Okay, then one of the main reason behind this is in olden times Indian economy was not that much developed. We basically used to produce primary products and agriculture and mining used to dominate the GDP. But now the situation has reversed. You know very well. Now we are looking for finished goods and finished goods and are also service sectors, IT, education, health, etc. are play a dominant role. Hence, the contribution of service sector dominates the GDP. Okay, so that only tertiary sector become the largest contributor of GDP of the country's economy. Observe the graph. In first graph, it shows that share of tertiary sector in GDP is high compared to the primary sector. Okay. At the same time, share of sectors in employment in primary sector is high compared to the tertiary sector. Okay. So the primary sector continues to be the largest employer even now because there is not enough jobs were created in the secondary and tertiary sectors. Rising importance of the tertiary sector in production. In the 2003, the tertiary sector has emerged as the largest producing sector in India, replacing the primary sector. Do you know why? Because in any country, several services such as hospitals, educational institutions, and post office, etc., are considered as basic services or the responsibility of the government. Okay, so the development of agriculture and industry leads the development of services such as the transport, trade, storage, etc. Because of the income level rise, certain sections of people start demanding many more services like eating out, tourism, shopping, private hospitals. Uh, they like to give education to their children in private schools, okay, etc. So that only nowadays importance of tertiary sector is increased. Let us discuss how to create more employment by the way of provision of easy credit, promotion of irrigation facilities, provision of education, health and tourism, etc. And the government invests some money in transportation and storage of crops or makes better rural roads so that many trucks reach everywhere. This activity can provide productive employment to not just for farmers but also others such as uh, transporters, traders. Okay, then promote and local industries and services in semi-rural areas where a large number of people may be employed. Provide cheap agricultural credit to the farmers for farming to improve. Central government in India recently made a law implementing the right to work in 200 districts of India. Under NRGA Act 2005, all those who are able to and are in need of work have been guaranteed 100 days of employment in a year by the government. If the government fails in its duty to provide employment, it will give unemployment allowances to the people. So, the types of work that would help in future to increase the production from land will be given preference under the Act. Let me discuss the sectors classified on the basis of ownership. It has divided into public sector and also private sector. Public sectors are organized by government, provide facilities to the workers like fixed employment, fixed working hours. Its main aim is to provide public welfare. For example, railways, hospital, parks, library, etc. Next one is private sector. Private sectors are organized by private individuals. It does not provide fixed employment or fixed working hours to workers. Its main aim is to make many profits for themselves. For example, Birla Company, Reliance, IDBI, ICICI, etc. There are some qualities of public sector and private sector. In public sectors, there is job security, generous benefits, and more relaxed atmosphere. In the private sector, there is more opportunities for promotion as the company grows, and jobs tend to pay higher, then more prestige, and the private sector is supposedly more efficient. Classification of sector on the basis of employment, organized and unorganized. Let me discuss this organized and unorganized sector with a small example. First example about Kanta. Kanta works in an office. She attends her office from 9:30 a.m. to 5:30 p.m. She gets her salary regularly at the end of every month. In addition to the salary, she also gets provident fund as per the rules laid down by the government. She also gets medical and other allowances. Kanta does not go to office on Sundays. This is a paid holiday for her. When she joined work, she was given an appointment letter stating that all the terms and conditions of work. Okay, So this is the first story. It is finished. The next one is about Kamal. Kamal is Kanta's neighbor. He is a daily wage laborer in a nearby grocery shop. He goes to the shop at 7:30 in the morning and works till 8 p.m. in the evening. He gets no other allowances apart from his wages like Kanta. He is not paid for days he does not work. Okay. He has therefore no leave or paid holidays. Okay. Nor was he given any formal letter saying that he has been employed in the shop. He can be asked to leave any time by his employer. So there is no job security. Okay. So based on these two stories, let me go and discuss the benefits of organized and unorganized sectors. Okay. From our story, Kanta works in the organized sector. Organized sector covers those enterprise or places of work where the terms of employment are regular. Okay, people have assured work. They are registered by the government and have to follow its rules and regulations. Okay, then from our story, Kamal works in the unorganized sector. The unorganized sector is characterized by small and scattered units which are largely outside the control of the government. There are rules and regulations, but these are not followed. Jobs here are low paid, okay, and often not regular also. There is no provision for overtime, paid leave, holidays, leave due to sickness, etc. Employment is not secure also. So these are the disadvantages from the employers in unorganized sector. Okay, for example, unorganized sector, we can take a farmers. Farmers work on their own and hire laborers as and when they require. Some people can also ask to leave the job whenever they sit. Okay. Based on the disadvantages of the workers in unorganized sectors, how to protect workers in the unorganized sector? Okay, setting up small scale industries in semi rural areas, implementing many programs such as NREGA 2005 Act, creating job opportunities in service sector like schools, tourism, hospitals, then allow credits at a lower rate by making the laws such as a Factories Act, Minimum Wages Act, then making PF and gratuity compulsory to unorganized sectors by providing guarantee of job and timings of job. So, based on these ways, we can protect workers in the unorganized sector. Why should we protect workers in the unorganized sector? Because in the rural areas, the unorganized sector mostly comprises of landless laborers, small and marginal farmers, and also nearly 80% of rural households in India are in small and marginal farmer category. These farmers need to be supported through adequate facility for timely delivery of seeds, agricultural inputs, credits, storage facilities, and marketing outlets. Okay, if we take in urban areas, unorganized sector comprises mainly in the small scale industry, casual workers in construction, trade, transport, street vendors, garment makers, etc. So, small scale industry also needs government support by the way of procuring raw material and marketing of output. The casual workers in both rural and urban areas need to be protected. We also find that majority of workers from scheduled caste, tribes and backward communities find themselves in the unorganized sectors. They are getting irregular and low paid worker. These workers also face social discrimination. So it is time to protect and support the unorganized sector of workers for both economic and social development. So far we discussed about different types of sectors. Now we should know about what is underemployment. Underemployment means people those who are apparently working but all of them are made to work less than their potential. If few people moved out, it will not affect the production. Okay, so it is also called disused unemployment. In urban areas, you can see most of the underemployment casual workers in service sector as painters, plumbers, repair persons, etc. They may spend the whole day but earn very little. They are doing this work because they do not have better opportunities. Okay. Now, what is unemployment? Unemployment means when a person is willing to work at the prevailing wage rate but fails to get a job. It is called unemployment. Are you clear what is underemployment and what is unemployment? Okay, those people are working less than their potential are called underemployment. Those who are willing to work at the prevailing wages rate but fails to get a job is called the unemployment. There is different types of unemployment. Seasonal, disguised, structural, cyclical, frictional. Let me see the different types of unemployment. First one, seasonal unemployment, which generates due to the variation in seasons is called seasonal unemployment. For example, agricultural laborers. When more people are working than required, it is called disguised unemployment. We can take same agricultural laborers. When the economy fails to generate enough jobs, it is called structural unemployment. And the next one is the unemployment that is created because of depression in an economy. It is called cyclical unemployment. And the last one, when unemployment happens because of transferring from one job to another. Okay, the period between changing the job is called the frictional unemployment. Got it? To solve the unemployment problem, the government has introduced NRGA Act 2005. That means National Rural Employment Guarantee Act. Based on this act, made a law implementing the right to work in 200 districts of India. This law was started by the central government. All those who are in need of work will get guaranteed 100 days work, and if the government fails to do so, it will give unemployment allowances to them. At last point, the work will of the type which will in the future help to increase the production from land. Okay. Before we end up the session, let's take a short recap with the help of this flow chart. So far we discussed about the sectors of Indian economy, classification of sectors based of economic activity, basis of organization, basis of ownership, and also comparing the three sectors, how all these three sectors interdependent each other, and historical changes in sectors, and also how to create more employment and division of sectors based on organized and unorganized. Then how to protect workers in the unorganized sector. This flowchart has given clear idea about the concept of this lesson. Thank you. We will meet next chapter in economics.